Hello, welcome to Thoughts from the Road. My name is BJ Marshall. I'm the Executive Director of Highway Connections. We're continuing our time in the Sermon on the Mount. This is the last chapter, chapter 7 of Matthew, of what is typically known as the Sermon on the Mount. So let's dive into it. Matthew chapter 7. Do not judge so that you will not be judged. For in the way you judge, you will be judged. And by your standard of measure, it will be measured to you. Why do you look at the speck that is in your brother's eye, but do not notice the log that is in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, and behold, the log is in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before swine, or they will trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and it will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives, and he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks it will be opened. Or what man is there among you who, when his son asks for a loaf, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, he will give him a snake, will he? If you, then being evil, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your Father who is in heaven give what is good to those who ask him? In everything, therefore, treat people the same way that you want them to treat you, for this is the law and the prophets. Enter through the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is broad that leads to destruction, and there are many that enter through it. For the gate is small and the way is narrow that leads to life, and there are few who find it. Beware the false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruit. Grapes are not gathered from thorn bushes, nor figs from thistles, are they? So every good tree bears good fruit, but the bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot produce bad fruit, nor can a bad tree produce good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown in the fire. So then you will know them by their fruits. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven will enter. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name cast out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? And then I will declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and acts on them will be compared to a wise man who built his house on the rock. And the rains fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and yet it did not fall, for it had been founded on the rock. Everyone who hears these words of mine and does not act on them will be like the foolish man who built his house on the sand. And the rain fell, and the floods came, and the winds blew and slammed against that house, and it fell, and great was its fall. When Jesus had finished these words, the crowds were amazed at his teaching, for he was teaching them as one having authority, not as their scribes. So in this last chapter of the Sermon on the Mount, we see a couple of different topics that Jesus wraps up his sermon with. First one that I feel comes up often is this idea of judging other people. And it's true, we should not go around judging people by our standard. We should not say, here's what the standard is. If you're not there, you're not in. But you see, Jesus later goes on and talks about knowing people by their fruits. And I think that I heard it once said, we aren't to judge people, but we are to be fruit inspectors. Now, when we find somebody whose fruit does not match their words, should we just cast them out and say, be gone? I don't think that's what Jesus is getting at either. But I think we do need to be very careful when we hear them teach, when we hear them say what they think. If their fruit doesn't match, we need to be weary or leery of it. But I want to focus on that last story that Jesus told us in this passage, talking about the two house builders. Years ago in another life, I got the opportunity to help build a couple of houses. And it's fascinating, the process of putting a house together, from the foundation to the framing to putting the siding on to the trim work, sheetrock, paint. It's amazing to watch a house being built. And Jesus is telling us in this passage, he says, when we read the Bible, when we hear his words, we have a choice. We can choose to accept what he says as truth and act on them, or we can choose to reject it and ignore it and set it to the side. But if we take the time to follow what Jesus has told us, if we read the Bible and we try and follow it, we're like that wise man that builds his house on a rock. Now, over in Israel, they have these canyons that up on the top of the canyon, you would find stone and rock that you could, in theory, build a house on. And down in the canyons, there was a nice sandy beach. It was nice and soft, but there was a danger down there. You see, when the rains would go further up in the mountains, flash floods would come through. And in the time that you could hear the water coming, you had seconds to get out of that canyon or you would be washed away. And so Jesus is telling the people, he's like, you can either build down in the bottom of the canyon where it's soft and cozy till the flood comes, or you can build up in the safe place, up on the rock. And if you're thinking about it in those terms, there's no choice. But yet often I find myself liking that sand. I like building my sand castles because it's fun. It's nice down there. But it's not what Jesus is teaching. I need to take the time to know the word so that I can build that house on the rock. So that when, not if, trials come, my foundation is strong and secure. Well, until next time, keep your eyes on the road. Have a safe journey. Thank you for participating by watching our Thoughts from the Road. If this has encouraged you, I'd love for you to go check us out on the web at our website. Would love for you to get involved with our ministry. We're always looking for people to help us distribute Bibles, and we're always looking for people that want to sow in and partner with us financially to see more videos like these and others be produced and gotten out to the trucking community. Your help can make the difference in the life of a trucker, whether that's through a Bible or through a video or through some of our audio stuff that we have online. So please, head over to our website, check us out, like, share, subscribe our videos here. All of those things help advance our presence on the internet so that we can make an impact for the kingdom of God. So until next time, have a safe journey. Keep your eyes on the road.